the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
So the Heisman Trophy goes to the best college football player out there, as voted upon by the illustrious potentates in the media that, you know, many of them have never picked up a football, but yet they get to decide who gets that Heisman Trophy. And you got to love that. So let's start with the ACC. Who are our candidates? Donovan, go ahead and tell everybody who the three that you think coming out of the ACC could be as Heisman Trophy contenders.
Yeah, so our top three, they're all quarterbacks. Sam Howell out of UNC. Obviously, we know he's probably going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. Might be the first quarterback taken in this next year's draft. We got DJ. Josh, you're going to have to help me with the name again.
Go ahead and say
I want to say it's Ayugalele.
No, I can't even say what I'm on.
All I know is we stole him out the Pac-12.
Uiagalelei. Yeah,
there we go.
Uiagalelei. So.
There we go. We saw him a little bit last year at Clemson. We know he's talented. We know he's got a good cast around him. And then D'Eriq King out of Miami. Again, it rests a lot on, you know, how does he recover after the injury and how does his offensive line protect him?
Do we really know how talented DJ is? I mean, he was taking on Notre Dame. I mean, you know, a little bit of fool's gold there, you know, who knows?
I think he's a real deal.
Yeah, he's a real deal. Dr. Pepper doesn't sling a bunch of money at you if you're not a real deal, you know what I'm saying? So D'Eriq King, you talk about the king of NIL. D'Eriq King is rocking like 7 different sponsorship deals right now. Him and Bryce Young are like going to the bank already with this stuff. So I'm in agreement with this. I think it's, you know, other than Devonta Smith actually winning as a receiver last year, the Heisman has generally become a quarterback award. And I personally don't think there's a finer quarterback in the country than Sam Howell. Sam Howell throws, he anticipates windows, he throws on time. He's also able to extend plays with his legs when needed. He doesn't look to run first, but he's able to extend plays and is plenty athletic enough to escape the pocket. He can vary his arm angles, has a little bit of a Baker Mayfield feel about him to me. He's going to take some chances. He's going to try to put some stuff into tight windows, but I think Mack Brown's got that old man swag and he's all about it. Like he's in there. Mac. He's in there, you know, rocking his Jordans at, you know, 85 years old or whatever he is now. Him and Snyder, you know, we're coaching well into the old age over there at Kansas State. But no, Mack Brown, this is how in tune Mack Brown is, guys. He found out a rule that the NCAA said that you can't have recruits off campus, more than a mile off campus, and you be visiting with them on an unofficial visit, right? So what did him and his wife do? They bought a house 0.9 miles from the center of Chapel Hill's campus, and now they, on unofficial visits, Mack Brown can host recruits at his house. So that is what
they're killing it recruiting wise.
That's what, yeah, and they're doing great. They convinced Tony Grimes, a guy that was supposed to be a senior in high school in Virginia last year. They convinced him to reclassify, and not only reclassify to come there and learn like Quinn Ewers is going to do at Ohio State, but Tony Grimes played. That joker came in and he started in the Orange Bowl at the end of the year. So, and he's going to be probably the best corner in the ACC. He's really, really talented. So he's a prodigy, but Mack Brown is pulling out all the stops. He does not care. He's got that ring. He's flashing it around, you know, letting these guys know that Chapel Hill is no longer just a basketball school. So, are we all in agreement that maybe Sam Howell is going to be the biggest candidate out of the ACC?
Oh, yeah. And he's going to kill it in Washington as our franchise quarterback, too.
Hey, I love that move, Josh. But, yeah, I'm in agreement.
I'm going to speak it until the draft happens.
So, Heisman candidates for the Big Ten. We got C.J. Stroud, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver at Ohio State, and then Graham Mertz, quarterback at Wisconsin. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. CJ Stroud, I think, is going to be productive just because, like I said, I think virtually anyone is going to be productive in that Ohio State offense. One, I think the caliber of defenses played in the Big Ten against that offense is just not very high. I don't think there's a talent gap that is just astronomically different between the way Ohio State recruits and the way somebody like a Rutgers recruits, although Rutgers is picking it up. Honestly, I'm not lying here from our rival stuff. Rutgers is picking it up with their NIL work, being the proximity to New York and things like that. But there's still such a talent gap out there. CJ Stroud, I think Chris Olave needs to be thrown in there as well. Chris Olave is going to get a ton of looks. They're going to try to get him on jet sweeps. They're going to get him on quick screens and things like that. He could have a Devontae Smith-like year.
Yeah. Well, what helps Garrett Wilson is, kick returns, punt returns, stuff like that. Kind of, Smith didn't really do too much of that. That was more Jalen Waddle's role. But I think it kind of opens the door for him to have more explosive, game-changing plays. But, yeah, I love Chris Olave. But you're right to think, like, how much does it hurt CJ Stroud having those two guys' names, potential in the Heisman race? Do they get more credit than CJ Stroud? Because we know what we're getting out of those two guys. They've been around long enough to say, hey, Chris Olave is as advertised, and same with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. And I love CJ Stroud so far from what we've heard. And I think it helps when I consider the best offensive line in college football is in front of you and the best wide receiver core. And Garrett Wilson, I understand, Devontae Freeman had a spectacular year, especially a once in a decade kind of year from wide receiver. Garrett Wilson, I think the thing that helps him over, Chris Olave, CO2, right, who might be the better receiver, that he's electrifying. Like you said, Josh, punt returns, kick returns. And I can firsthand attest, thankfully the video's buried deep somewhere on YouTube, is that I had to go up against him on punt return. And I'll tell you, he is as electrifying as they look, right? I saw it firsthand. So I think that helps him. Again, Graham Mertz, we'll see which version of him shows up throughout the season.
Yeah, and then the kind of flying the ointment again, I want to throw in there that could be somebody that upsets the apple cart a little bit. Let's say Penn State does upset Ohio State. Well, in that game, Sean Clifford is likely to have just balled out in that game. He can not only has a strong arm, but he can do so with his legs as well. Can hurt you. A big guy can hurt you with his legs. So if he does that, they upset Ohio State, then you got to throw his name right there in the hat of the Heisman Trophy race, because I would imagine if they do that, they're likely to be fighting right there as an undefeated, looking team at Penn State, because it should be a big bounce back year. Yeah, they started out 0-5 with the COVID deal, but they ran the table, won the last 4. And James Franklin, people don't need to forget, he had 3 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt. That man ought to have a statue. That man ought to have a statue built for him, not only at Vanderbilt, but at every school. Just to say, look what this guy did. He won 9 games at Vanderbilt, guys. That's literally, I would have to have a whole nother hour show to go into how big that is. But then lastly, let's touch on the Pac-12 Heisman candidates. We talked about Kayvon Thibodeau. That could be kind of, that would be out there.
That's a Chase Young pick.
But Jaden Daniels, Keaton Slovis. I think Slovis is going to be good, but I just don't think any of these guys are going to win enough and have the spotlight. They're playing games at midnight. Nobody's watching them. I just think there's that bias against the West Coast. But
I love Jaden Daniels though. Like, I think this is going to be an extremely hot take. I think he could have a Zach Wilson-esque jump. Being a complete nobody to coming out as like a household name quarterback. He lit it up in the 4 games they played last season. Like, say what you want about it, but he is that dual threat quarterback. Not saying he's going to be a first-round draft pick, but he's definitely being talked about draft-wise as, a possible second-round quarterback. So don't be surprised if you hear a lot about Jaden Daniels. He's not going to be talking about Heisman much, but he's going to earn a lot of respect this year.
Hey, he's got Herm over there. Herm Edwards as his coach. So, Herm's got
weekly guest for us.
Pulse on the NFL and all that kind of stuff. So Jaden Daniels definitely could have a big year. But guys, now what it's time is for the big 3. So let's get to it.